Helped my sister get a good job only to find out she and our parents uninvited me to her promotion party. I didn't care until my boss said, "Wait, she's the one taking credit for your work." His next call changed everything. I'm Travis Cardenas, 34 years old, and I've worked at Wilcox and Meyer Logistics for nearly a decade. My job isn't flashy. I'm in operations, making sure shipments get where they need to go. But I'm damn good at it. I've built a solid reputation, earned respect from the higher-ups, and I know my way around every department. My younger sister, Alina, is 28. We grew up in the same house, but might as well be from different worlds. Where I was always the responsible one, Alina was the free spirit, the dreamer, the risk-taker. At least, that's what my parents called her every time she messed up. She barely scraped through college, then spent her 20s job hopping. I lost track of how many times she called me crying after another layoff or another toxic workplace that just didn't appreciate her. And I did what a big brother is supposed to do. I helped. The last time she lost a job, she was in full meltdown mode. "Travis, please," she sobbed over the phone. "I don't know what I'm going to do. My rent's due in 2 weeks. No one's hiring. I swear I'm trying, but I sighed, rubbing my temples. All right, let me see what I can do." And just like that, I put my own reputation on the line. I pulled some strings, made some calls, and got her an interview at my company. I even prepped her, coached her through potential questions, basically handed her the answers on a silver platter. And she got hired. Entry level, sure, but stable. Good benefits. A real career path. And she swore up and down that she'd work hard, prove herself, and make me proud. I believed her. I trained her myself. Even though she wasn't technically in my department, I spent hours after work going over spreadsheets with her, explaining logistics, making sure she didn't look like an IDOT in front of management. And let me be blunt, she wasn't good at it. She struggled. Hard. But every time she was on the verge of giving up, I talked her through it. "You're overthinking," I'd tell her. "Focus on the numbers, the patterns. Once you see how everything connects, it'll make sense." She'd sigh dramatically, but she always nodded. Okay. Just don't give up on me, all right?" And like a dumbass, I never did. For a while, it seemed like she was actually getting better. Slowly but surely, she stopped needing my help as much. She started presenting ideas in meetings. I was proud. I thought I had done something good, helped my little sister find her footing. Then, a year later, she got promoted. Not just any promotion, either. She skipped an entire level. Something that usually takes at least 3 years. I was shocked, but again, I was happy for her. A little confused, sure, because I knew for a fact that there were more experienced employees who had been passed over. But hey, maybe she really had stepped up. And then came a night I found out about the party. It was a regular Tuesday. I was at home, scrolling through my phone when a text popped up from Hector, a guy I used to work with. "Hey bro, you coming to Alina's big celebration tonight? Didn't see your name on the list." I frowned. "What celebration?" A few seconds later, he sent me a screenshot. A Facebook post. "So proud of my baby girl Alina for her well-deserved promotion. Tonight, we celebrate your success. Party popper hashtag proud parents hashtag she did that the location was tagged. A fancy restaurant downtown." I stared at it, feeling like an idiot. I hadn't been invited. I called my mom. She answered on the second ring. "Oh, Travis. What's up?" I got straight to the point. "Alina's party. When were you planning to tell me about it?" A beat of silence. Then she sighed. "Look, sweetheart, it's not a big deal. It's just a little family thing." I clenched my jaw. "I'm family." Another pause. Then, hesitantly, "Alina just thought it might be awkward." "Awkward?" I repeated, my voice sharper now. "Why the HLL would it be awkward?" Dad's voice rumbled in the background. "We didn't want any drama." I almost laughed. Drama? I had gotten her the damn job. I had trained her. I had watched her struggle and picked up her slack. And now I was being cut out like I was nothing? I don't remember what else was said. I just remember hanging up, staring at the wall, and realizing that for the first time in my life, I truly didn't matter to them. The next morning, I was still pissed. But work was work. I was grabbing coffee in the break room when my boss, Richard Calloway, walked in. "Morning, Travis," he said. Then, casually, "Hey, quick question. Alina's department has been getting a lot of praise for that new routing system. That was yours, right?" I blinked. "Yeah, I designed that months ago." Richard tilted his head. "Huh, that's interesting. Why?" "Because Alina's been presenting it as her initiative." My stomach dropped. "She what?" "She's been pitching it in meetings," he said. "HLL. She even had a one-on-one with the VPs about expanding it." "You didn't know?" I felt sick, because suddenly everything made sense. The sudden promotion. The uninvited party. Alina wasn't just succeeding, she was doing it on my work. And Richard? He didn't look happy. He studied me for a long moment, then said, "Travis, be honest with me. How much of her success is actually hers?" I hesitated. For years, I had protected her. cleaned up her messes, given her credit she didn't earn. But she had made her choice. So I told him the truth. All of it, I said. Every single bit of it is mine. Richard nodded. Then, without another word, he pulled out his phone. And his next call? That call changed everything. Richard stepped away, phone pressed to his ear. His expression was unreadable, but I could tell by the clipped tone in his voice that this wasn't going to be a casual conversation. I stood there, gripping my coffee cup so tightly my knuckles went white. My mind was spinning, replaying every late night I had spent fixing Alina's work, every time I'd stepped in to help her look competent, every goddamn moment where I had put her success above my own because she was my sister. And now she had the audacity to not only take my work, but erase me entirely from the picture. I should have seen it coming. I really should have. Richard returned after a few minutes, his face unreadable. Travis, my office. That was never a good sign. I followed him, my pulse hammering, my coffee forgotten. The walk felt longer than usual, my head buzzing with the possible outcomes. Maybe he'd fire her. Maybe he'd reprimand her. Maybe, just maybe, this was all a misunderstanding. But deep down, I knew better. Richard shut the door behind us and gestured for me to sit. He didn't sit down himself, just leaned against his desk, arms crossed, watching me like he was still piecing things together. You trained Alina, he said finally. It wasn't a question. I nodded. Yeah, I got her the job. I helped her catch up when she was struggling. Catch up, he repeated. That's an interesting way of putting it. I said nothing. He exhaled sharply and shook his head. Travis, I won't lie to you. This looks really bad for her. I swallowed hard. How bad? He gave me a long look. I just got off the phone with Mason Green. Mason was one of the senior VPs, someone who had the power to make or break careers in this company. He's pissed, Richard continued. Turns out, he was about to recommend Alina for an even higher position based on this routing system. Your routing system. My stomach clenched. And now, Richard said, he wants to know exactly how deep this deception runs. I let out a slow breath. So what happens now? Richard rubbed his jaw. Well, first off, we're going to verify everything. I already know your work speaks for itself, but we need to be thorough. We'll go through project logs, emails, timestamps, anything that shows who did what. That means for the next few days, I need you to be available to confirm everything. I nodded slowly. He hesitated. And there's something else. I waited. I need you to be honest with me here, he said. If we let Alina go, is that going to be a problem for you? I blinked. What? Richard exhaled. Look, I know she's your sister. This isn't just another employee we're talking about. I don't want to put you in an uncomfortable position, but Richard, I cut him off, my voice steady. She put herself in this position. He studied me for a moment, then nodded. All right. He stood, straightening his tie. Then let's get to work. The next few days were excruciating. I was pulled into meetings, asked to verify emails, project files, presentation drafts, everything. Richard and Mason were thorough, and the more they dug, the worse it got. Alina hadn't just stolen my work. She had actively removed my name from key reports. She had rewritten summaries to imply that she had developed the routing system, going as far as tweaking timestamps to make it look like she had been working on it months before she actually was. She hadn't just taken credit. She had deliberately erased me. By Friday, Richard called me into his office again. His expression was grim, and I knew what he was about to say before he even said it. She's done, he said. Mason and the other execs are meeting with her on Monday. It's not a question of if she'll be disciplined. It's a question of whether she'll be fired immediately or just demoted so badly she'll quit on her own. I let out a slow breath. She doesn't know yet? Richard shook his head. Not officially, but I'm sure she knows something's coming. Yeah, she was going to know real soon. I didn't have to wait long. By the time I got back to my desk, my phone was already buzzing. Alina. I hesitated. Then I answered. What the HLL did you do? She hissed, her voice sharp and furious. I leaned back in my chair, keeping my voice even. What do you mean? Oh, don't play dumb, she snapped. I just got called in for a performance review on Monday. Do you know how many people have been whispering behind my back today? Everyone's looking at me like I mood-deared someone. What did you tell Richard? I exhaled through my nose, staring at my screen. I told him the truth, Alina. Silence. Then a low, dangerous laugh. The truth? That's rich. I frowned. What the HLL is that supposed to mean? You just had to throw me under the bus, huh? She said bitterly. After everything I've done for you? I sat up straighter. Everything you've done for me? Oh, don't act so innocent, she sneered. You always hated that I finally got a little success, didn't you? You couldn't stand the fact that, for once, I wasn't just Travis's dumb little sister. I let out a humorless laugh. Alina, I got you this job. I trained you. I fixed your mistakes. I covered for you so many times I lost count. And you repaid me by stealing my work and taking credit for it. That's why this is happening. Bullshit, she spat. You could have kept your mouth shut. But no, you just had to go crying to your boss like a little BTCH. I closed my eyes, trying to keep my temper in check. You stole from me. Who cares? She snapped. It's just a STP-ID routing system. You really want to destroy my entire career over that? And that was when it hit me. She didn't even get it. She had no remorse, no guilt. She genuinely believed that what she did wasn't a big deal. And that's when I knew this wasn't just about the job. This was who she was. I let out a slow, exhausted breath. Alina, you did this to yourself. Her breath hitched, just for a second. Then she laughed bitterly. Well, congratulations. You won. And she hung up. I sat there, staring at my phone, feeling nothing. Not satisfaction, not anger, just done. Because this was beyond fixing. And Monday was going to be the day everything changed. Monday morning felt different. The office was buzzing in that quiet, restrained way it does when everyone knows something big is about to go down. People whispered in the break room. Some exchanged glances when I passed by. A few even gave me nods, small, subtle gestures that told me they knew exactly what was happening and that they were on my side. I didn't seek out Alina. Didn't need to. Because at exactly 10 a.m., Richard, Mason, and another senior VP, Lauren Yates, walked past my desk and headed straight for the executive conference room. 2 minutes later, Alina was called in. She walked by me without looking in my direction, her face tight with barely concealed fury. But beneath that, I saw fear. She knew. She just didn't know how bad it was going to be. The meeting lasted almost 2 hours. I kept my head down and worked, pretending I wasn't thinking about every possible scenario playing out in that room. And then, at 12:07 p.m., the door swung open. Alina stormed out. Her face was pale, her lips pressed into a tight line, and for the first time in her life, she looked truly defeated. She grabbed her things from her desk, didn't say a word to anyone, and then she was gone. I exhaled slowly. It was done. Richard called me in a little later to fill me in on the details. She's not fired, he said, rubbing his temples. Mason wanted to cut her loose immediately, but HR advised against it. Too risky with how high-profile this whole thing got. I raised an eyebrow. So what happens now? Richard leaned back in his chair. She's been demoted 2 levels. She's lost her team, her office, and all management privileges. She's back at an entry-level role with a salary cut so steep it'll make her head spin. I let that sink in. After all the work she had stolen, the lies she had told, the way she had tried to erase me from my own achievements, she was back to square one. Richard sighed. Honestly, she's probably going to quit. People don't recover from a fall like this. Her reputation is shot. I nodded slowly. That's fair. He studied me for a moment. You're taking this well. I shrugged. I spent years helping her, covering for her, and all she did was use me. She made her choice. Now she has to live with it. Richard nodded approvingly. Then he smiled. You know, Mason was very impressed with how you handled all of this. Said he's been keeping an eye on you for a while. I blinked. Mason? The same guy who almost promoted Alina? The very same, Richard confirmed. And now that he knows who actually did the work, he wants to talk. That did surprise me. I had spent so much time focused on exposing the truth that I hadn't even considered what might come next for me. Richard clapped a hand on my shoulder. Let's just say, you should keep your calendar open. That night, I got a call from Mom. I debated ignoring it. But then I thought, no, let's get this over with. I answered. Travis, she said, her voice tight. How could you do this to your sister? I closed my eyes briefly. Of course. Of course, this was how the conversation was going to start. Mom, I said evenly, Alina did this to herself. She lost everything, Mom snapped. They took her office, her salary. She's talking about quitting. Do you even care what happens to her? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Did she care when she stole my work? Did she care when she took credit for something she knew she didn't do? Did she care when she and you and Dad cut me out of her celebration? Silence. For once, she had no immediate response. She used me, Mom, I continued. And when I finally stood up for myself, she played the victim, just like she always does. And you? You let her. That's not true, Mom said, but her voice was weaker now. Really? I shot back. Then why didn't you invite me to the party? Why did you take her side without even asking for mine? Another silence. Then, softly, she said you wouldn't care. I scoffed. Yeah, that sounds like her. I took a slow breath, feeling the weight of everything pressing down on me. I spent years looking out for her. But you know what? I'm done. She made her choices. Now, she has to deal with the consequences. Mom sighed heavily. I just wish things didn't have to be this way. So do I admitted. But I didn't start this. For once, she had nothing to say. And I didn't feel angry anymore. Just free. Alina didn't last a week in her new role. I don't know if it was the humiliation, the gossip, or the simple fact that she couldn't handle actually doing the job she claimed to be so good at. But by Friday, she handed in her resignation. She sent me a one-line text. Hope you're happy. And you know what? I was. A month later, I got my own promotion. Mason followed through on his word. He saw my potential, and more importantly, he saw my work. No shortcuts, no stolen credit. Just me, finally getting what I had earned. Mom still tries to guilt trip me every now and then. Dad stays out of it. Alina and I, we don't talk. And I don't think we ever will. Because at the end of the day, family isn't about blood. It's about who actually stands by you. And Alina, she never did. Months passed, and life moved on. Alina disappeared from the corporate world completely. I heard through mutual acquaintances that she had tried to apply for similar positions at other companies, but her reputation followed her. The industry wasn't as big as she thought, and word had spread fast. Nobody wanted to hire someone who had been caught stealing credit for someone else's work. Last I heard, she was working a mediocre administrative job, nothing close to the leadership role she once envisioned for herself. Mom still called occasionally, still trying to mend things between us. "She's struggling, Travis," she'd say. "I know she messed up, but don't you think it's time to move on?" And every time, my response was the same. I have moved on. She's the one who hasn't. Because the truth was, I had never been better. My promotion wasn't just a raise. It was a complete shift in my career. I had a seat at the table now. People saw me. They respected me. And the best part? I earned it. No shortcuts. No stolen credit. Just years of hard work finally paying off. One day, Richard called me in his office with a grin. "Got a little surprise for you," he said. I raised an eyebrow. "Oh." He handed me a printed email. I skimmed it, then stopped, then read it again, slower this time. It was from an executive at a major competitor company. And the subject line? Travis Cardenas. A leadership opportunity. One looked up at Richard, stunned. "Is this?" He chuckled. "They reached out asking about you. So they've been watching your work and want to make an offer." I stared at the email, heart pounding. This was bigger than anything I had imagined. A new company, a huge jump in salary, a chance to step into a true leadership role beyond even what I had earned here. And it all happened because I had finally stopped holding myself back. Richard leaned back in his chair. "I don't want to lose you," he admitted. "But whatever you choose, just know you did this. Not your sister. Not your parents. You." I swallowed hard, then nodded. For the first time in years, I felt completely in control of my own future. No baggage. No guilt. No second guessing. Just me. Standing on my own. And damn, it felt good.